welcome everyone to our last but not least seminar. So, emotional reflexology. Today, it's a great honor to introduce Kalinda, our speaker today. I know Kalinda from day one. Kalinda was the first person I believe I spoke with. And before I started working with RAC. So I guess she was among the committee that hired me to work for RAC and on. So it's a very long relationship. I've known her for over 7 years now. And she's an inspirational speaker. She was a national board member, obviously, and teacher, won many awards, teacher awards, 3 consecutive years. I think there was a time where you were just on a roll, and so it's amazing. So we're very fortunate to have her today. She wants to talk about something a bit. It's about emotional reflexology. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her. So being stuck in a funk because thoughts are heavy and emotions are draining your energy is a hard place to exist. Kalinda beat anxiety disorder and panic attacks in 2012 and is intimately aware of the struggles people face when feeling consumed thoughts. She has combined her life lessons with the tools collected on her journey to develop what is known as emotional reflexology. It's super neat to watch reflexes go from tender to released in moment as clients let go of their stress. So without further ado, I would like to invite Kalinda to start her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Carey, for that introduction. It is true. I had the honor and pleasure of being at the starting line when Mary Carey started. And I want to thank you and the team that you built for building an incredible organization that we can rely on, that's stable, that connects people all over the world. And it really connects therapists across Canada. I think that you guys are doing an exceptional job, and I applaud you for that. So thank you very much to Mary Carey, the Reflexology Association, and the team. They're dynamite. And so how to help your clients when emotion is causing physical, emotional, and mental pain. I'm guessing we all showed up because you want to know that. Now, this class, you'll note there are no speaker notes. There's a reason for that. It's because I want you guys to really be able to interact, to be able to get some value in here and to really experience what it's like to feel it. You know what? You're going to have a copy of the recording. You can take notes for days after, and I give permission for them to hold it for the rest of the time. But today, I want you to really be present. I want you to be really engaged. I want you to be able to show up in the chat and let me know that you have arrived. So can everybody type in the chat, I'm here, hello, RAC's awesome, anything, just so that I can see that you guys are able to communicate with me. Yay, I see you. Juliana, excellent, I love it. I see Donna Jones, I see, look at this is awesome. Chantel, I see a lot of students. Rhonda, great, 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 keep them coming. I want to see who's all here. Awesome, great job. Okay. I want you, yeah, Natalie, I got you. Good, dancing and reflexology. Hey, that is a great day, Susan, I love it. So thanks for spending your time showing up and hanging out with me. I appreciate it. I love that there's people from right across the province here, our country, and Parksville, good, Nova Scotia, love it. So today we want to have fun, and the number one goal is to help you feel lighter. Agreed? Can I get a hell yeah in the comments? Can we? We all want to feel lighter. It's about time. We've had a rough couple of years. And, you know, clients have had a rough couple years. So I really hope, Eklund, I see you. I really hope that I can share this information with you today, and so that we can give back and bring some air back into the lungs and pep in our step. I think we're long overdue. Okay. So today, this is what I'm going to share with you. I want you to understand the history of emotional reflexology, how to determine if a reflex is tender because of emotion, the measuring the pain scale of emotion, using the power of perspective, how emotions are stored in the body, steps to help others to release emotions, and questions. Now, I've got a ton of information to share with you. I'm thrilled to do that. We're going to try to keep questions down to the end because I've got so much information that I'm going to share. I've asked Mary Carey to check on the questions for me so we can keep it short and sweet. You are more than welcome to go up to that questions tab, type all your questions in there as we go so we don't miss them, and we're just going to keep on going. Fair? Can I get a fair in the comments? Hey, excellent. Everybody's here. We're listening. We're engaged. We're great. Okay, let's dive in. History of emotional reflexology. I want to know, how many of you have personally dealt with a feeling or a heavy emotion or know someone that has? Excellent. A couple. Depression. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Mental health is in a crisis, guys. It is at an all-time low, and we need to bring some joy back. So how many of you have personally or know someone that has, no matter how hard they seem to try, that heaviness seems to follow them like a shadow that they cannot escape? That's hell. It's 100% hell. Dark cloud peeps. Yes. Yes, exactly. What kinds of things do we as a society look to for relief from heavy emotion? I want everyone, brain dump, next 20 seconds, I want it all. What are things that people can go to get help to escape these feelings? Crying, drugs, dancing, meditation, pills, chocolate. Hey, Juliana's chocolate, those girls at the market, that does bring joy. Travel, beach, wine, alcohol, yeah, cake, awareness, community, walking, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Hey, Reiki, gardening, counseling, friends, holidays, outdoors, excessive sleeping, pet therapy, birds, energy work. Yeah. Ice cream, massage, crafts, yoga, cats. Love it. I love my dog. He brings me some joy. Acupressure, acupuncture, laughing. Have you ever heard of laughing yoga? Telling you, it's the craziest thing, but it works good. Deep breathing, I'm all for that. Yes. Crocheting, love it. Dancing, yes. Getting your body moving is super important. I love it. Laughter yoga teacher, hunt me down. Being in nature, comedy, food, hiking, nutritious food. I have to clarify that. Gym.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Kalinda, just a quick question.
Yeah.
Can you make your screen make it full screen?
Yeah.
It's just some members asking if an attendee meant.
Okay.
Better,
I will
Nancy?
try to do. Is that better? Is the full screen better? Exercise and
I think
hypnotherapy.
it's better. It's fine. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what
Oh,
do you do? Are we okay, Mary Carey?
no, Nancy's saying that she cannot see it well. The attendee.
Can you see it?
I can see it. Maybe she's having.
It was bigger before. Somebody said it was bigger before. I don't know. I'll just.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Please, Nancy, please check your settings because it seems that the rest of the group they all are able to see it, and I can see it too.
I can't change it now. I don't know what happened. So I'm just
okay,
gonna keep on going.
okay. Please keep going. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, I want to see the slides on the side because I screwed it up, Leanne. Thanks so. And so what happens is, what do you do when everything that everyone just listed has been tried and there's still no relief? What do you do? What do you do when nothing works? That's exactly, crying doesn't work either. Call for help, there's no one to call. And so what happened was, that's where I was. And Colleen, I had no idea either. I'm going to doctors. I'm trying to figure it out. I would have checked out, but I didn't have that option because I had kids to raise. And so I remember going to the doctor one day. Professional help doesn't help. I went to go see all the specialists, counselors, therapists, psychologists. Nothing helped. And so I went to a doctor one day. Medication doesn't help. I'm going to get into that in a minute, Wendy. Went to a doctor and they tried to put me on prescription medication. Prescription medication doesn't work on my body. If you go to a dentist and you get freezing in your mouth freezes, right? Mine doesn't. If you have a headache, you can take Tylenol. I might as well take a Tic Tac. It does nothing. I can go to an emergency room. They can hook me up to IV with the strongest medication that they got. They gave me tramadol. I don't even know how to pronounce this thing. Tramadol. They sent me home with some stuff that was absolutely supposed to work. You know what happened? It was a Tic Tac. It did absolutely nothing. Nothing. So if you are getting into a place where nothing works, you've got two options. My option was die or figure it out. Those were my options. Thank God in 2012, I figured it out. And cannabis doesn't work for me either. I have a bad story about that, Gabrielle, but I know it works for some people, and I don't judge anything that anybody does, because you need to do what's right for you. Your clients, some of them, they're in the same boat. And so the thing is, magic mushrooms, I don't know, I'm not willing to, there's nothing to fix it if I trip out, Kathy, so I'm not willing to go there. Nice. And so what happens is, I had to figure it out. And when I did that, what happened was I understood that the brain remembers what the body forgets, or the body remembers what the head forgets, right? So what had happened was in 2009, this guy here, it's my uncle, and him and we were inseparable. 2008 really sucked. I had a mom that was sick. I had an aunt that was diagnosed with cancer. I had a great aunt that died on Christmas Day. And this guy, yeah, they thought that he had pneumonia. He didn't. He had lung cancer. He lasted for 4 months. That journey was a journey through hell. That 4 months, what happened? The company I was working for was forced into receivership. I had to take a pay cut of $40,000 a year. I had an uncle in the hospital dying. He was blind. He didn't trust anybody because dietitians wouldn't respect his choices for the menu. You know, those sheets that you check off in the hospital? I checked them all off. You know what? They didn't follow it. He didn't trust anybody but me. That meant I had to cook three times a day, take meals to him. I had 2 kids at home to raise on my own. I was trying to figure out how to pay the bills when my wage was decreased by 40,000. I was trying to keep my head above water. And you know what? I was sinking really fast. Thanks, Megan. You saw it all from the beginning. Megan used to be my massage therapist back then. I'm telling you, she knows I'm not kidding. And so what happened is, when you're going through trying times, and you know what? A lot of people went through those kinds of times in the last 2 years. Who knows somebody that went through a living hell that they never want to remember in the last 2 years? So many. And the thing is, when you're going through times that are that tough, we all know about the immune system. We learn about that before we ever touch anyone's feet. But I came to understand we have an emotional immune system too that remembers everything. We're all walking computers with files that may be broken, that may have some viruses in them. And if you don't know how to fix those, you suffer. So this is what's happened. This is what's happened. I fought. I was going to 5 sessions a week, just trying to figure out how to figure it out. I remember I would go into the car and I had to go to a counseling appointment because I couldn't get my disability insurance if I didn't go to see a counselor. Yeah, that was fun. I would hop into my car. I would start bawling. I would get to the counselor's office. I would sit down. I'm not a pretty crier. I am not a pretty crier. The tears were not little nice drops on the side of my face. It was a bloody mess, and I don't like people seeing me cry. I wasn't built that way. So there I am, hands over my face, water all over hell. And I had to pay somebody $100 to watch it. I walked out feeling all the things I felt when I walked in, and brutal on top of it all. I didn't get relief because you can't get help if you can't talk it out. And you know what? You can't get help if you don't know what to talk about in the first place. So here is what happened next. I got to meet an incredible amount of amazing, amazing people, incredible people that share their gifts, and each one brought me a little bit closer to my answers. I needed that because the headspace that I was in when I got sick would have never been the headspace that I needed to get out of the prison I created. Who else knows a prison of the mind that keeps them in jail? I want to see it. Exactly. Exactly, Helen. Exactly, Linnell. We all do. And so it took a battle to wear me out, where I was finally to the point that I could be open. Megan's in here. So when I took reflexology, this is what happened. I started to try to figure out, I couldn't even tell you where my appendix was before I signed up for reflexology. That's the truth. No idea. But going to the doctor told me this is as good as it gets. Like hell it is. I was 36 years old, single mom of 2, and I needed to take care of them. That's the bottom line. I had to figure out another way. I had gone to see Lawrence McClellan. Who knows Lawrence McClellan? He's a blind reflexology therapist, 40 treatments a week, has been for years, the most incredible human being out there. Thank God for Lawrence, because when he worked on me, he was able to help me understand that there had to be a way to figure out how the body interacts, because he was blind and he memorized a chart on the wall. I couldn't figure out how you all are so smart to figure out how to memorize all of those places on that chart, because man, that felt impossible to me, right? So here we go. Impossible. I'm facing mission impossible. No medication's working. No therapy's working. I tried everything except for those mushrooms. I didn't do those mushrooms, nor would I, but I tried everything else on that list. It didn't work. I was going to Megan. She was doing massages on me. I was in a crisis. So when I ended up becoming certified, you know what Megan did? She was my volunteer client to let me work on her feet. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate that. Now, here's the thing. I felt like I was rubbing feet. I didn't know what I was doing. It felt awkward and weird. Who else, when they first started reflexology, felt like you're rubbing feet, that you don't know what you're doing? Exactly. Megan's a massage therapist. She understood everything. She understood how the body works together. I didn't have a freaking clue. Okay. So I got through the sessions, but during one of those sessions, Megan said, you know what, there's somebody in the office that knows how to work with anxiety. And I think maybe you should book an appointment. I did. I booked an appointment. The woman that I booked with is also freaking amazing. That's not a swear. I substituted it. But what happens is she knows a lot of things. Her certification list is this long. I just booked an appointment because Megan told me to. I walked in and I really felt like this was going to be another counseling session where I was going to drop $100. And you know what was going to happen? Nothing. That's really what I thought, because that's how it felt up until that point. Who has tried to get help and it feels like everything that you do doesn't work? Anybody? Am I the only one? No, it happens. Is it just Helen and I? Crystal, it happens to Crystal. Who else is there? Well, Helen, Crystal, and I. Okay, there we go. There we go. Happens all the time. And it is frustrating. Walked into that treatment. And this guy on your screen was one of the biggest people in my world. He was my go-to. He was my uncle, but he was my person. He was the one that was with me, babysitting me since I was a kid. Amazing memories, right? Thought of losing him, put me in a loop of that 4-month trauma that he was dying, that I just couldn't escape. So when I sit in that room, the practitioner asked, okay, why are you here? You think I could answer? No. Out came those beautiful waterworks that weren't so beautiful, awkward, uncomfortable. It sucked. But instead of sitting there staring at me, do you know what she did? She took out a chart that looks something like, well, it's not that one, but I created that one, but something like that. She found an emotion in my head, when she said, why are you here? I just wanted to say, because I can't stop crying because my uncle died. That's what I wanted to say. It wouldn't come out of my mouth. It was coming out of my eyes. He died in 2009. She, without me saying a word, said, you're dealing with grief from 2009, wiped it out. I had 57 minutes left in that appointment, and I was done crying. I've never cried again. How? How is that possible? I can tell you how that's possible, because after that, I went back for several more sessions, and then I got to the point where I'm like, I just need to figure this out. I became an emotional code practitioner, and that wasn't the final answer either, but it was one tool closer that got me to the place that I needed to be. So that in January of 2012, I said goodbye to anxiety forever. Do you know how? Because I remembered that when I was 8, I was gardening in the back with a 2-sided rake. I left the rake out. My brother jumped off of a rabbit hut, landed headfirst on that rake, and I thought I killed him. His head was covered in blood, looked like his head was chopped off. I ran into I was going to the bathroom when it happened. My mom and dad came running in a great big panic. The man looking on that screen that I'm holding on to, he was the one that held me just like that for hours as my brother was in an emergency room. I thought I was going to jail. I thought that everyone was going to hate me. I piled up all those negative emotions, one on top of the other, until they crushed me at 8. He came back a few hours later with stitches. Stitches. Everything should have been good, right? No, because When I was 36, I was still remembering that. I bought a house next to my brother. There was a big garden. It was a triple lot. I had lots of rakes. Do you know what? There were lots of rabbits too. I didn't understand that my subconscious memory, every time I saw a rake, my uncle, my brother, the garden, I didn't get that my subconscious mind was remembering what my head forgot almost 3 decades prior. The minute I wiped out the emotion tied to that memory, I was free. 2012, it never came back. And it took me years to figure it out. When I did, in the treatment room, I noticed that there were reflexes in the feet that just would never let go. And I'm going to get into that in a bit. But when emotion is stored in the body, your body is going to scream it at you. It's not going to let go until you figure it out. It's happening that way for your clients too. And when you can really understand it, when you can really understand what the body's trying to say, and you help it let go, freedom prevails. I did those sessions for 5 years, before I could figure out how to share it with anybody. And let me tell you, I had anxiety. January of 2020, when I shared it for the first time, because I had no idea if I could get this information out of my head and transplanted into the hands, the hearts, the minds of others. I had no idea if it would work. The only thing that I knew is that I couldn't give up until I did. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I teach amazing students, because that information was transplanted into others. And I know it worked because some of them are certified in here today. Amen. So thank you, Juliana, for sharing it. I know that you have experiences like that too, but I hope that helps you understand why I'm here sharing it with you today. Make sense? Good. So I did not ever get the memo that emotion can cause physical pain. Who here knew that physical thought could cause problems anywhere else in your body? Who knew that? Sarah, Jeannie? Look at all of these people know that. I didn't get that memo. If I did, you know what? That tiny piece of information probably would have saved me a decade. And you guys, I haven't had one no in here. You guys all know that. How many people can you release from head jail just by sharing that little tidbit of information? That's one step closer. Share that far and wide. It might be second nature to you. You know what? Not knowing that cost me probably a decade. Know your worth and know what you know is helping others. Make sense? Okay. So, anybody have any questions so far? My little rant, I didn't mean to go that far into that. I wanted 3 minutes for that, Mary Carey. I think I'm going to be over.
It's so good. It's so good. This is powerful. This is good. I do see a couple hands up. Let me
Okay. Just let them talk.
I will let them talk. Let's start with Kristen Wigland. I'm just going to allow you to speak. Just one moment. Okay, Kristen, you're muted.
Hey, Christine. Did you have a question for me? I can't hear her. Maybe,
Christine, we
maybe.
cannot hear you.
Kristen, can you type it into the chat and I'll take the next question?
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure.
I'm gonna go with Shirley Gibbon. Shirley, I'm gonna give you. Please feel free to.
Shirley Gibbons, you're on mute. Shirley, can you just unmute yourself, please? Okay. It's fine. We'll just go to, is there a question up here, Mary Carey? Okay.
No, that was just a comment. It is my specialty from Natalie Morissette. Okay, I'm gonna try.
No, it's all good.
I'm gonna try.
We'll just keep.
You want to keep going? I have a couple of hands, two more hands.
Okay.
Let's go with.
Okay, I'll take 2 questions really quick and then I'm going to move on.
Yeah, Colleen.
Colleen Grant, can you unmute yourself, please? There we go. All right, Colleen, you had a question?
What's going on with the mics?
It's okay. It's good. We'll just keep on going. We'll ask this at the end, and so that we can make sure we stay on track, though. Thanks, though. Thanks for maneuvering with me, Mary Carey. Okay, so the human dilemma. The brain is hardwired to survive. The heart is hardwired to be safe, right? It wants to feel loved. And when you go into survival mode and you're trying to seek safety and love, there's sometimes a battle between the two, and it can feel like a constant battle. And so, did you know that it takes a tremendous amount of genius to suffer from anxiety and panic attacks? Who knew that? Who knew that? Who knew that in order to suffer from anxiety and panic, you had to be a genius? Margaret didn't know, Sarah didn't know, who else didn't know? Do you know why? I can tell you why. Because when, Linda, great. Welcome to the Genius Club, my friend. Welcome to the Genius Club, Leanne. And this is why you have to be a genius. Because people with anxiety and panic disorder, they usually are thinking of a thought somewhere in the future. They're dreaming up scenarios of what could, should, maybe happen in the head, right? They can be dreaming up stories of something that they think somebody else is thinking, even though it never came out of that person's mouth. But all these stories are going in the head constantly, right? And they know it's their mind that created the thought. They know it's the mind that created that worry about something that might happen in the future. Might. 99% of the time, it doesn't happen. 99% of the time, it's just a story you created. But that story is so real in their head, they believe it like it's gospel truth. And they know that they created it in the first place. How powerful do you have to be? How creative do you have to be to create something, a nightmare, so strong that you believe it? And it's a horror movie that you created. Crazy, right? I mean, at least Stephen King puts it into in between pages and makes money off of it. The anxiety and the panic, it robs of moments, and it's not even real. So one of the ways that you can bring people back, is it real in this moment? And is it happening now? Just be present. What you see, what you can touch, what you can feel, what's happening in front of you, that's real. For thought that's moving to the future, you have to make sure it's not a fairy tale. And if you're a master storyteller, you have to make sure that if you're using that much power to create a nightmare, use that much power to make something good. It's just a flip. It's a flip of a switch. And it's hard work if you've been programmed to dream up nightmares, right? I mean, can you imagine Stephen King becoming a romance novelist, right? It takes some effort. I mean, you can't kill anybody in a romance novel, right, Stephen? That's going to be a stretch, right? but you have to be able to just pivot. So one of the ways that I used in order to get my head going into a different direction when I was suffering was, I'm like, what's the opposite of this? What's the opposite? So if this is the nightmare, what's the bliss? What's the blessing? And you know what happens when you spend a lot of time trying to find bliss and blessings? Bliss and blessings show up. And they become stronger than the nightmares. Isn't that cool? I love it. Wendy. Yeah, I think we can all worry ourselves sick. I get it. Okay. So, does everybody understand what I say when I mean you have to be a genius to have anxiety? Do you get it now? Does it make sense? Who's guilty of it? Am I the only one that was guilty of it? Anybody else a good storyteller? I want to see who the storytellers are, right? I'm a storyteller. Love it. Hey, we got some bestsellers in here. It's good to be an author. Just make sure it's an author of a good story. You only got one life to live, right? So in order for somebody to be a best-selling storyteller, their brains have to create such amazing stories that they believe that it's real. It has to be gospel truth. It has to be so real that your subconscious buys all in to the point that your body reacts to it. That's powerful. That is powerful. And I can tell you what triggers that. Responsibility triggers that. You know what? Parents raising kids, that's responsibility. Maintaining a lifestyle, that's responsibility. Running a business, that's responsibility. Having a job, that's responsibility. That can get stressful. Your home, your family, your spouse, your kids, work, pets, health, activities, bills, imagination. Imagination runs wild is a bigger responsibility, right? Social media, friends, community, food. There's so many things going on. It was second nature for people to rip people apart the last 2 years. It's high time we spend time putting everyone back together, right? We're not Humpty Dumpty. We're repairable, and it can happen in a moment. For me, it happened in 3 minutes. It might taken me 5 years to get there, but the finish line, the moment that I was fighting for, that was 3 minutes. And it was the best 3 minutes because that 3 minutes, it's paid back over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I cannot tell you how many people I've helped. I cannot tell you how many people I've trained, although I do love them all. And when they share their gifts, you know what? I can't count the number of people it's helped. And if you look in your own life, if you've used these two hands to help anyone, you've got that same story too. You don't need to almost let anxiety take you out and put you on a deathbed to have a powerful story. You've got one. You're just not using it as much as you can. If you're using it, awesome. Use it more. The world has never needed you more than it needs you today. I swear. The world is broken. You got 2 healing hands to make it better 2 feet at a time. You don't need to be 6 feet apart anymore. Who agrees? Who agrees? There we go. So, in order to be able to help anyone, you have to be able to connect. You have to be able to engage. 2009, cancer taught me a very powerful lesson. It taught me that paying attention to temperatures is important to understand balance. In the Western world, everybody measures temperature with a thermometer. Everything is down to the numbers. 96.5, everything follows the science. You know what? If we up to the other side of the pond, they're kind of getting to the science level too, but they do it with yin and yang. So it's a little picture with perfect balance, right? One isn't right and one isn't wrong. When you take the two together and you understand it, it becomes powerful. And that's what I recommend that you do. 2011, a battle with an anxiety diagnosis, it taught me that the body remembers what the head forgets. And there's memory triggers. If I say right now, 9/11, where does your head go? I guarantee you it's going to go to September of December or September the 11th. Where were you? Where were you when those planes hit? You know, that is what I call an emotional immune system. It tries to take you back to a place in time to feel, to remember, so that you don't have to do it twice. And we got files of it. We got libraries of them. Think about a happy memory. Anybody know? Anyone know of a recipe that's a family secret? Even though it isn't a secret, they can share the recipe. Nobody can recreate it. Who knows those recipes? Who knows those recipes? Anybody? Anybody tried to duplicate those recipes and they're not quite the same? It's not a secret. It's because what happens is people that put their energy into it has a different flavor. You're all unique. You all have your own flavor. But the things like that also bring joy. We've all got our joy recipes. We've all got our gifts to share. Those are your recipes. Nobody can duplicate it. I've taught hundreds of students, hundreds. You know what? No two do the treatment the same. I teach the same thing. They're all different because they come with their heart. They come with their energy. They come with their dedication, and they share their recipe. It's important. It's important for your recipe to live and exist in the world. But more importantly, it's important that you share it with people that are going to get results from it. It's important for you to be that practitioner that helps that one client that walks in that can't even say what it is that she's there for. And in 3 minutes, it's a wipeout. Decades of suffering gone in 3 minutes. You're that person for someone. I don't know who it is. Do you? I've been that person for people. I don't even know the stories. I get people showing up saying, "Oh yeah, that story was incredible." I don't know what that story was. I don't need to know. All that I know is that if I'm willing to show up with these two hands and the skills and the journey and the teachers that have taught me, I share everything that I know to the best of my ability. And that helps some people break free. Does it help them all? No. Doesn't work for everyone. Sometimes you're meant to be that practitioner at the beginning. Sometimes you're meant to be that practitioner halfway through. It's just a piece of the journey, and you don't get to decide what part you're in. You don't get to decide if you're at the beginning, the middle, the end. There's going to be some people that say, it didn't do a thing. From Probably did. Told you what doesn't work and you need to go to the next best thing. But you're going to be somebody's finish line too. And all are amazing. So in 2015, I lost this man to cancer. Lung cancer, stole another one. And he always used to say, Clinda, why are you going to work? Clinda, why are you doing that? Clinda, why are you wasting your time? And I quit that job. And I went all in on something that I loved called reflexology. It gave me time to figure out how to tie all these pieces together. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing that you've always done and expect a different result, right? If something isn't working, try something new. Don't try to make the old thing work. How many people try to do that in today's world? Right? Yeah, Leanne, that was my dad. And so 2015, I was sick and tired of cancer stealing people. He was my reason to learn. I had my two beautiful girls. They were my reason to fight. And with that, you power through. If you have love, you can do anything, right? And so 2020, like I said, I taught my first emotional reflexology course, and we're going to dive in 2 seconds. If anybody wants to know, if anyone wants to know how it feels to let emotion go, I want to see it in the chat. Okay, you won't be leaving here until we do that. So how to determine how a reflex is tender because of emotion. Okay, so there's common denominators. There's some reflexes that are usually tender for people. That's like the pituitary, the hypothalamus, the adrenals. How many people notice that when you're doing a treatment that those areas are usually tender on most clients, right? Like those seem to be the reflexes that hold the most stress. Not for everyone. Remember, 7.8 billion people on the planet. Your job is not to put them all into the same box, right? We're all different around here. When somebody comes into your treatment room, you can usually tell happiness because of that beautiful smile and an upbeat tone. You can usually see sadness and grief, disappointment. It's visible, right? Anger, anxiety, racing heart, those eyes, they say it all, right? Is because fight or flight response can be triggered when there's an emotional reaction to the actual or perceived threats. You don't have to be. So some of these emotions, remember I said it was because of a memory when I was 8. It can be because of a nightmare. It can be because you watched a Stephen King movie. It can be because you watched a car accident. It doesn't have to be something that happened in your daily waking life. It can be a book that you're reading. It can be anything that triggers this stuff. And how do you hunt it down when you don't even know what you're looking for? Yeah, talk about Mission Impossible. It's okay. There's a tool for that. So you have to understand that some people are adrenaline junkies too, right? There's always a curveball somewhere. Somebody's not a curveball. I'm used to being the curveball. But when you have that adrenaline rush, some people will do skydiving. You know what? I don't want to jump out of a plane that's working well. You know, anybody else skydiving here? Any adrenaline junkies in the house? I admire you. Okay, disgust. Oh, Susan, I can't. And so disgust can be triggered by seeing things like smells and stuff, and it's just got a different look to it, right? Now, when anger's evident, I don't know, she doesn't look too angry. Her eyes don't look angry. I think she's faking it. But you can tell when somebody's actually angry. Angry can actually be a positive. So you don't want to wipe out positive emotion. If you have been sitting on the couch and you need to get moving, you need to get back into shape. You know what I mean? getting angry because you ate another bag of chips. And that's a bad example, but anger to get you moving is a good idea. And when you're emotional eating, I don't like anger involved with that because you don't need another reason to beat yourself up, right? But if it's something like a goal or something that just really anger drives you, a tipping point, the switch, that's where anger is really good. Sometimes positive isn't good for that exact reason, right? The surprise can be pleasant or unpleasant, triggering the fight or flight response. Now, emotion, it can be physical, instinctive, instantly prompting body reactions to threats, rewards. In between, you can tell that because sometimes skin gets sweaty. There can be visible reactions, facial expressions, eye movement, right? Yeah. And so emotion is really easy to detect when you can see it. Everybody agree? Give me a yeah. If you can tell just by looking at people how they're feeling, that's great. Now, what happens when you can't see it? Who wants to see what it's like to find an emotion you can't see that's hiding in the subconscious and feel what it's like to let go? Ready? All right, let's do this. Excellent. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to think about something that has been causing you stress in the world. Something that's been causing you stress in the world. I want you to really feel the emotion and I want you to rate it. Feel it? When you feel it, I want you to feel where you're feeling it in the body. So sometimes if it's grief, you can feel it in your throat, right? Depression might be in the heart. Stress might be in the stomach. Exactly, Helen. Heart. There we go. I want you to type in the chat exactly where you're feeling it in your body. Where's that emotion? I don't need to know where the emotion is. Karen's in the solar plexus. Colleen just feels numb. Chest, heart, upper solar plexus. Great. Left eye. That's what I like that one. Okay. Now I want you to put in the chat, how long have you been dealing with this emotion? How long has this thing been haunting you? How long? Years, all my life, forever, years, 3 years, a decade, many years, too many years. Okay, 6 months, 8 years. As long as I can remember, 3 years, years. Okay, so with all the tools that you got today, how much longer is it going to take for you to solve this? I want to see it in the chat. Using all the resources that you can possibly think of, how much longer do you have to dive in order to be able to fix this problem so that it doesn't hit you in the stomach, the throat, all these places? How long is it going to take working on it, Christine? How long do you have to work on it? Months, don't know. How much time, Helen? Leanne's never ending. Kathy's 3 minutes. It's a hard question to answer, for sure. Okay, now, scale of 1 to 10, wherever you feel it in the body. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being it hurts. 1 is, you know what, it's not that bad. Okay, I want you to rate it. Scale of 1 to 10. How strong is that feeling when you're thinking about it? We've got lots of 7s, 8s, 4s, 10, 3, 6, over 10, Karen. Oof. 6, 2, 8. Good. Excellent. Now you ready? There's got to be a common denominator around here. I'm just going to grab my chart. I'm going to see what the common denominator is for all of you. Oh. So if you dig really deep underneath that emotion, there's fear. And the common denominator for all of you is fear of change. How many can recognize fear of change being part of the puzzle that's laying underneath? Okay, so Lorna is a no. And Colleen is a no. So I want the no's. I want the no's to sit, and Michelle, the no's are going to be on the sideline. And for everyone that it's a yes for, I'm about ready to release fear of change. I'm taking out fear of change, and I'm going to replace it with life as an adventure. So you can look at fear of change as something that you pull back from, or you can look at it like Christmas. What's the next chapter? Because isn't life a waste if we keep on doing the same thing that we've ever done? That's like eating carrots every day, all day. Isn't it nice to kind of spice things up? Check something out, get something new, refresh, right? And so we're going to take out the fear of change, and we're going to look at it like it's Christmas. Okay. Now when you feel that same thing, you just put the numbers in the chat. How many people felt a shift just from that little bit of perspective, from detecting fear of change and shifting it from something you're resisting to something that you're embracing? How many people feel the shift? Okay. How many have felt it completely let go? Okay, so Jeannie felt it completely let go. Karen felt pretty much. Okay. So for the people with a no, and for the people that have had a little bit that has been coming down, there's something else in here, and it's people pleasing. How many of you with an emotion that remains are guilty of people pleasing? Okay. So this is what we're going to do. When you're saying yes to someone else and saying no to yourself, you're putting yourself in a lose-win situation, and it never feels good. You know that thing where they say when you get on an airplane, you have to fill yourself up first? This is one of the things that I tell my clients, and I am sharing it with you today before we move on. I just wanted to give you a sample, but I hope you take this with you. Imagine there's a magic genie. Every morning, right when you wake up, whatever beverage you like to drink first, I don't care if it's coffee, if it's tea, if it's water, if it's whatever beverage you want, that genie shows up, puts it right beside your bed, and so that you can wake up, get some fluid into the system, and have a great start to your day. But Genie makes it exactly how you want it, just for you. Somebody runs in and they're like, oh man, I'd really like that beverage. So you, in your kind, people-pleasing heart, give it over. You didn't get it. But don't worry, you got the genie. It's going to show up with a second cup. Your kind, people-pleasing, wanting to give heart gives that one away too. And now you have to get ready for your day. You've given away everything. Now you have to go get ready for work. You're feeling deprived and probably a little resentful. Everyone agree? In that case, wouldn't you feel just a little bit ripped off? That's not how we're meant to serve. You're not supposed to give your last drop of any cup. We're going to go through that scenario again. Genie comes, you take that cup, you drink it. Oh, tasted good right to the last drop. Genie comes, gives you that second cup. You drink that too, and now your given generous heart isn't wanting to waste anything. Somebody comes, that genie comes, fills that cup again, and it's like, man, I gotta go, I gotta get ready. Somebody's like, oh man, I'd really like to have that glass of whatever you got. Here, please take it. Don't waste it. I got to go to work. See how that's a win-win? Fill your cup first. And what flows over is meant to give away. It's meant to help people. It's not meant at the sacrifice of your well-being and your self-care. You have to be the best version of you. You don't have to be, but it just works out better. See what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Does that change things? Good. So now we're going to talk, we're going to chuck out all of this self-sacrifice, whatever we got going on story that's been rattling between our ears for a long time, making us feel less than so that somebody else can feel better. And we are just going to bring it back. And so that everybody wins in the sandbox. Can I get a hell yeah? Amen. Now, anyone that had that emotion in the beginning, that number that you had, how many have felt another shift to let something go? How many haven't felt a damn thing? Okay, Christine, who else? Colleen? Okay. So if you haven't felt anything let go, it's because whatever it is that you're feeling, it is not a common denominator with the group. You would obviously need something that's a little bit more personal for you. I was just doing an example. How many felt it completely release? Did anybody feel it completely let go? With the fear of change and the, what was it? Fear of change and people pleasing. How many have got it at a 1 or a 2? Okay. Excellent. And so it's much lower than it was when you started. And we did that for what, 5 minutes? Anybody agree? I want to see how many people saw a shift in 5 minutes that they weren't expecting. There you go. Excellent. So now I want you to think of a time that you were super happy. I'm talking the happiest day of your life. Happiest. I want you to concentrate on that happy moment. Where do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it? Good. Scale of 1 to 10. How good does it feel? Nice. Good job. So now I want you to connect that happiness from wherever it is in your body, and I want you to take it to wherever that hard emotion was living. And I want you to just put your hand on both places until you feel your body let go. No, actually, I lied. I don't want to do that. What I want you to do is I first want you to press the reflex that still hurts. So whatever it was, wherever your body was showing up, right? So if you had feeling in your heart, I want you to hit the stomach reflex. I don't care what chart you use. Use whatever chart that you know. I want you to press on that reflex on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to tell me how tender it is before we start releasing this. Okay, so Michelle, it's at a 10. It's 10 out of 10 tender. Is that correct? Okay. 8. Good. Good. I want you to think of that emotion that you had in the beginning, where that tenderness reflex is and how much it is right now. Okay. Good. Excellent. And now what I'm going to do is that happy, that joyful emotion that you just felt, I want you to take that emotion and I want you to plant it into that place where that stress lives. Okay, I want you to take it and I want you to transfer it until the happy outweighs that heavy emotion. I want you to imagine that it is like a heater that's just melting away that negative emotion like butter. You got it? When you can feel it melt, when you can feel the joy melt the pain, let me know in the chat. Okay, Christine's got it. Who else has got it? Okay, Crystal's, it's down a bit. That's good. I told us slowly melting away. Good job. Good. 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 It's not completely done for all of you, but I want you to go back and whatever emotion it is that you had detected in the first place, whatever the story is tied to that emotion, I want it to pop into your mind right now with clarity, and I'm wiping it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with the joy that you detected. We're filling up the cup right to the top till it overflows. And then I want you to press that reflex. You knew what it was in the beginning. I want you to press that reflex and I want you to tell me if your body actually released it. Good job, Christine. Way to go. Way to go, Margaret. Nice, Margie. 7 to a 3. No, you only hold the reflex that was tender in the first place, Kathy. Dawn is down from a 7 to a 3. Good job, Dawn. 7 to 2, Helen. That's progress. Perfect. Excellent. And so here lies the other problem. Ego relies on proof. It loses confidence when doubt starts creeping in. Good job, Susan. Good job, Donna. I've had clients that tell me it's impossible to let go 99% of the time when I'm working with them one-on-one. It takes me less than 5 minutes to get that emotion to release. Helen, that's a bonus, isn't it? Okay. It's always the client's body that is the deciding factor, whether it's ready to let anything go. You can't trump that. Your best is really good enough. And the ego, it needs 6 things. It needs to feel significant. It needs to feel important. It needs to feel included. It needs to have external validation to feel worthy. It needs to be right and it needs to be validated. You know what? 99.9% of the time, when you're given, because to the point your cup's empty, it's because you're seeking one of these 6 things. And it's not important because at the end of the day, you're unique. You're a recipe that cannot be duplicated. Self-love trumps all. Self-care trumps all. And when you give from an overflowing space, everyone wins. If you give from a space of that sacrifice, ucky feeling, it's not really a win for everyone, because here's the truth. Givers love to give, and I'm pretty sure we're all in that category. Takers love to take. In order to have balance, remember I said it's a thermometer in the west and it's yin and yang in the east. Universe always has balance. If you're a giver, you're going to find a taker. They're going to show up, and it's going to create perfect balance. Make sure that everything is like air. Give in perfect measure. You'll receive in perfect measure. It doesn't have to be in the source. You don't have to do it for anything. But give because your heart overflows, and that cup is never going to go empty. You're going to plug into a fountain that never drains. That's the truth. And so, when in an actual emotional reflexology session, I usually work on the feet. You can work on the hands, you can work on the ears. I'm sure you can work on the face. I have worked on the face, so no, you can. But the first step is to really detect the emotion. You're going to rate it on a scale. You're going to find the emotion. You're going to hold that reflex. You have to stimulate it. To rate the tenderness on a 0 to 5, 0 to 10, you're going to release the emotion, and you rate the emotion and reflex again when that emotion has been detected and released. If it's 0, the emotion has been released from the memory. It doesn't come back. It's like one flat file in that computer is chucked out. It's been put in the trash bin. It can't be, but how many times and how many files have you created? That's the next problem. So if there's still tenderness or a trigger, there's another layer to the emotion. That's all that there is. There's common emotions: helpless, stressed, overwhelmed, grief, worry, panic, anxiety, confusion, frustration, sadness. I tons. But if you peel it all back, it goes down to 2 things, and it goes down to either fear or it goes down to love. Power of perspective. It has the power to change things. In 2010, I was lucky enough to meet Andy Andrews. He wrote a book called The Noticer, and it's a book that's powerful in perspective, and figuring out the puzzles hasn't been easy. But you know what? One day I came home from a conference in Texas, and I tried to think about the hardest thing that I ever tried to solve when I was a kid. You know what it was? It was the Rubik's Cube. Sat down for 24 hours. I tried to fix that thing my entire life, but I decided this time I wasn't going to quit until I figured it out. It took me 24 hours using help in order to be able to solve it. You know what I did? And then I scrambled it and I solved it again the next time. It took me 15 minutes. I've got every different shape of Rubik's Cube in the house just to remind me that nothing's impossible if you understand the formula and the algorithm. And you know what? Nobody outside of you knows the answer. It's an inside job. But if you can understand what the body's trying to say and you help somebody release it, that's powerful. That's teachable. People don't know what they don't know. They can't talk out what they don't remember. If you can at least point them in the direction where they may have to go, it's valuable. So I've got a different story. These hands over here, they belong to a friend of mine that was diagnosed with pancreatic and liver cancer in 2020. Her diagnosis was 1 to 2 years with chemo. She was a CT scan person. That means she spent 40 years doing CT scans, very medically minded. I lost an uncle in 2013 to pancreatic cancer. I know what that looks like. I know it's fast, and I know it's terrifying. But she wasn't interested in alternative measures because she was going all in on chemo. I remember calling her up one day and I'm like, you're in my chair. I didn't charge her a thing. I did treatments on her for 3 times a month. 3 times a month, or sorry, 3 times a week for 18 months. You know what happened? We did emotional reflexology. I did hand reflexology. I did ear reflexology. I did face reflexology. I did foot reflexology. I pulled out every tool I have ever learned, and I have collected 18 certifications. But I also pulled in all the experience I gained from every journey I've ever been on. And by golly, after a year, cancer left the pancreas. She never had a side effect going through a chemo treatment. Not one. She was in Manitou Springs, floating in the waters out there 8 days before she passed away. Can't save her. You don't know when anybody's finish line is, but she lived the hell out of the life she had, mostly symptom-free. And she did it not from pancreatic cancer. It was liver cancer that took her out, but she lived. Sometimes the win isn't to extend the timeline. Sometimes the win is to give quality over quantity, and it matters. So it ended up that the pancreas, it was free. It was free. And this was the biggest lump. It was more in the spleen area. But the liver, it was really lumpy. We were able to get it back and forth. And then after she had her vaccine shots, her blood work went wild and we couldn't do it. But it was a learning opportunity that I'll never regret. Sometimes quality is worth it. And using the power of perspective, when you can determine the outlook on life and empathize with others and share in the joy and pain, it's powerful. If emotion is left to flow on its own, how you feel when you wake up can shape how you feel throughout the entire day. Can wreck an entire day, and man, you got 24 hours packed in there. Why waste them? Emotion can have a profound effect on your overall health and wellness, and positive and negative emotions are just a natural part of being human, but we have to know how to maneuver them and use them to our benefit rather than for them to rule us, right? And so negative emotions are comfortable, but positive emotions, they can block reaching goals because they're comfortable. We like them. They can be distracting. I mean, some people have a full-time job watching YouTube and Netflix. It doesn't create a powerful life, right? Unless, that's what you want. But it's when we get one life to live, it's kind of cool to be able to make an impact. And you got powerful skills at your fingertips, literally. So how emotions are stored in the body, good, bad, the traumatic, they're tied to old memories. You have to be able to figure out what emotion is tied to old memories and find a way to release it. Because if you don't, it becomes a loop and it becomes the anchor that holds you in history. Once you release the anchor, you're free to move to the future with peace, which is kind of cool. And so the steps to help others, we've kind of gone into that. And you really just have to understand and help your clients understand the habits that they're committed to, right? Whether you show up for a job that you hate every day, you're committed to doing the habits that it takes to keep the job so you can pay the bills or whatever reason you have for keeping the job you hate. But if you create something that you love, you create habits for that, and then you have a life you love. It's just a choice, right? You just have to figure out the choice. And do you know what's even cooler? When you make a choice, it's really cool to get the testimonials on how you've helped somebody else change life. And I know you guys are all amazing, giving people in here. I want to hear how many have had at least one person that says you're a rock star. You're a rock star. Thank you for helping me with your skills. It's not a yep, it's not a yes, it's a hell yes. Somebody is grateful for you. And I'm willing to bet it's a hell of a lot more than one. Exactly. So Don't be surprised when you knock on the door of opportunity and work answers. Sometimes our callings aren't easy, but if you're here, you've been called. You have a choice not to do it, but it's a heck of a lot more fun when you do, right? I don't know what lights your fire. You do, but share it. Because when you give, you get a heck of a lot more back. I'm telling you, I didn't charge a dime for my friend, not a dime, for 3 sessions a week for 18 months. And you know what? I wouldn't change it because she needed that. And that love and that learning and that respect and those insights, to me, they're invaluable. And you know what? My students will be the first ones to tell you, I am a sergeant when it comes to charging treatments. Anybody in here? Anybody in here that is my student, I preach sell packages. How many can attest to that? I'm sure they'll show up. There we go. It's because there has to be an exchange of energy. You cannot feel depleted. And a lot of times when people are just learning, they don't have that confidence and they feel like, you know, they don't know enough, which is a load of crap. And they just hide. And so if there's something that you can push through in order to gain that confidence, it just works, right? Mental health isn't a crisis. The world needs you. Information doesn't make an impact. Action does. What prevents action? Lack of confidence. Do you know how you get confidence? You practice. You practice. Practice more. Share more. Find a way to get more clients in the door. You don't need to prove a damn thing to a single person. You're good enough just how you are. You've got tools, you've got education, Lord love you. You've got so much stuff at your fingertips. Literally, we're reflexology therapists at our fingertips. When's the last time you went to a doctor and got a prescription without side effects? I can't even go to the doctor and get a prescription that works. And I'm going to tell you this. Nothing usually works on my body, including reflexology. 2018, 2019, I can't remember what it is. RAC changed their rules and teachers were teaching on their own rather than through the association. So our CRT status, I don't know if Pat Nossenbachen is in here, but it's worked to my benefit because that year I've been teaching a ton of students. I had 11 students to certify in a week. They worked on my feet. My feet. How many teachers get 11 reflexology sessions from nervous clients or students in a week? That's like a death sentence. I could take it because my body doesn't respond to anything until the 11th one. It was the weirdest moment of my life. I'm like, hey, why do I feel that? Oh, I feel that up my leg. Oh, you know what? I think I slept for a bloody week after that. I was so tired, so exhausted. It just takes me longer to feel what others feel after the first treatment. I didn't know what they meant when they said that. I felt like they got hit by a freight truck because they're so tired. I didn't understand when clients are leaving, like so tired they need a nap. I got it after the 11th session. Maybe I'm a slow learner. Okay? I don't know. But what I'm saying is your mess is the mission. My mess of not being able to find release, it is my mission. I call it my pain with purpose. And so just practice. It doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect doesn't help anybody anyway. Confidence builder looks like this. Step 1, you're going to fumble. Step 2, it's going to be familiar after your 10th time. Step 3, your 100th time. Yeah, you're going to start to feel confident. Step 4, it's going to take 1,000 times. You're going to be called experienced at that point. Step 5, 1,000 times, then they're going to call you an expert. Right? Right. So, first-time parent with 4 kids. Remember that first kid where you had to have everything right? The fourth kid's like, oh, sucky dropped here. I'll wipe it off. There you go, right? First time driving, you're so scared. Oh, remember that? Now you can drive in your sleep. Please don't. But you know what I mean, right? I remember when my kids were hanging off my legs when they're going to kindergarten for the first day. I'm like, oh my God. And then I reminded myself I have never seen a grade 12 go to school with their mom. You know what I mean? So I knew I was going to be okay. It's just I didn't know how to get through it. So if Henry Ford asked people back in the day what they needed, they would have told them faster horses. He ended up creating a motorized vehicle, right? People must have thought that he was crazy, but I don't care what support you need. I don't care if it's in person. I don't care if it's online. I've taught 40 live classes in 6 years, and I was sure that I was always going to teach in person. You would have thought that I would have learned to never say never by now. But when COVID shut everything down, Harvard started teaching online, doctors moved appointments to telephone calls, and I figured out how to teach students that were halfway through their classes virtually so that their families could benefit from treatments during the pandemic. And you know what? It worked. Today, we released some emotional weight. No one's in this treatment room with me. Even if it moved 1 degree, it's an improvement, right? It's a stretch for many that aren't comfortable with technology, and I get it. My point is, in a world that is rapidly changing, it's possible. And I don't know what your limiting beliefs were. You know what? Teaching online was mine. The doctor's belief was I was never going to get better. This was as good as it's going to get. And we all have limiting beliefs to push through. We've all got them, right? So we know how to use our hands to help people feel better. We know how to release tension and stress, whether it's pregnancy, like Linda Burrell taught. If that's on your heart, she's flipping amazing. She's amazing. Postpartum, improving chakras. Who loved that session yesterday about the little circles with the chakras? Jennifer just blew me away with lymphatic drainage. I don't care what chart you use. We're not 7.8 billion people. We're not all the same. You know, we all have different opinions. We're all not all going to go to the same church or follow the same political party or make the same health choices. We're not supposed to. I don't know who you're designed to serve. But for the love of all that is, if you got 2 hands and you're here, it's someone. Do it. Our hands are needed for a treatment. And now is the time for you to serve any way you can. For people that are emotional reflexology therapists, you cannot project your fears, beliefs, or insecurities onto others. It's against the rules. And I stand firm in those rules because projection crushes so much. We're all the same. In the middle, we're all souls. No one's better than anyone else. We got this. You're not allowed to judge. I don't document released emotions because I want it like they've never existed in the first place. You can't compare clients and you can't discriminate. So I blew time, but here we go. Here's questions. Do we got any minutes for questions?
We can take a couple of them. Thank you again, Galinda. Let's go with, I see many reactions. So Shirley, I'm just gonna allow you to talk. Let's see if this time it will work. Please feel free to ask your question directly to Galinda. You're muted.
If Mary Carey is calling on you, can you please make sure that you unmute as soon as you get up, just to save time? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Shirley?
Okay,
Can you hear me?
Still not working. Let's move. Let's try Colleen Grant. Colleen, let's
You're
try
welcome.
with you. Colleen, you're muted.
Oh, Kathy asked a great question. How do you know if it's an emotional problem or a physical one when you find a tender reflex? Physical and emotional. So I'm talking causes here. I'm not talking symptomology. Symptomology is great for a guide. A cause is different. So if the cause, there's only 3 things that ever cause stress in a body that I'm aware of. Stress, stress, or stress. You have to decide if it's physical, nutritional, or emotional. So when a reflex is tender and you're holding it, it will usually release in 15 seconds or less if the cause is a physical or a nutritional. If it's emotional, it's going to hold on for over 15 seconds and it's not going to let go until you figure it out.
Okay, I have another one, Kalinda. From Helen? Helen, do you need to have a level of emotional balance before you can do treatment?
What is emotional balance? Man, I'm probably still off kilter and I've been doing this for years. I really believe that you start where you are and the people that are meant to help you will show up. So for those that don't know, I actually went through Tony Robbins intervention coaching and it helps get a lot of that. But no matter what you're doing, if you're waiting for that, you're going to be dead. Like it's never going to happen because you can't, you just can't. You can be better, but no one's ever going to be perfect. It's not meant to be. We're human, right? We're emotion, we flow. And so I really think that you need to start where you're at. I started in a mess. I started when I had anxiety. Nobody was complaining. It was good.
Excellent. Well, Linda, thank you again for such a powerful presentation and inspiring presentation. For those of you who are interested, Kalinda is offering a post-conference workshop from September 24th to 25th, 2022. Feel free to register online via our conference website. And looking forward to meet you all again. You may, if you want, you can continue the conversation in the Hangout section. And also we have some couple announcements before we close this conference. So hope you'll be in attendance. So talk to you soon. Thank you, Kalinda. Thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.